this is Professor Poyo, and this week we continue in our genre theme as we explore picture books. While picture books is considered a genre, we will be more specific in our inclusion of what type of picture book our texts are. Literature is a miracle, a true artistry, as authors and illustrators are able to use both words and pictures to take us away to another place, a place that never was. Let us know people who never were, and help us share in adventures with these new characters. Here's an outline of this chapter and the award-winning book, This Is Not My Hat. It's important for us to distinguish characteristics of picture books, identify how they're different from illustrated books, analyze which elements help readers in their comprehension, recognize pivotal historical information for this genre, and differentiate between types of picture books. So, I'd like to introduce you to This Is Not My Hat. Caldecott winner 2013. If you haven't read This Is Not My Hat yet, please make sure you do. You won't regret it. There's several distinguishing qualities of picture books. Picture books are known for their illustrations, illustrations that are essential, intentionally included to help tell the story. Typically, picture books have one picture per page or per every other page and are 32 pages long. Illustrated books, on the other hand, contain pictures, but these pictures have an entirely different purpose. These illustrations add interest, but are in no way essential to the telling of the story, since they do not offer any additional information to the reader. The authors of our textbook include detailed descriptions of how each of these elements aid the reader. We will look at each of these individually. Literary elements. Typically, we think of text when referring to literary elements, but visual representations of literary elements plays a large part in picture books. Characters, for instance, may be identified by the illustrations, by objects around them, and passage of time. Artists must depict their characters from many different perspectives, and often decide on identifying features by which the readers will immediately know their characters. For instance, we can always tell the characters Frog and Toad apart from each other because Frog's always green and Toad is always brown. When artwork in picture books is done well, readers can enjoy the aesthetics of the illustrations and appreciate the emotions conveyed through the manipulation of line, texture, shape, color, and composition. Lines can be heavy or light, jagged or curved, or even straight. Each of these decisions by the artist adds to the story, contributing to what is not in the text. For example, in the picture book, The Paperboy, we see vertical lines of the dog's tail and the paperboy's empty bag, and we know they're going fast. We see the orange and yellow colors and know the sun is rising. Horizontal lines may also be used, though, to express calmness, as we see in the water that's depicted in example 9 from your textbook. When we refer to artistic style, we mean the impression created by the combined effect of visual elements, like line, shape, color, light, and texture. Style is important in conveying the mood of the story and in contextualizing the setting, as well as in defining the characters. These are the styles most often found in children's picture books. The illustration provided here is an example of surrealistic style, in which the illustrator can manipulate the bizarre and often dreamlike features in order to express internal feelings or thoughts. It may represent symbolism for the reader to consider, or it may be used to move the action along. Make sure you spend some time looking at the examples in our textbook, noting the differences in the styles and the purpose for each style. The artists who create picture books rely on a number of media to express their visions of the stories. Several of them are listed here, like pen and ink, collages, pastels, etc. Now, there are some illustrators who use a signature medium almost exclusively. However, others select different media depending on how they want to express their views of the particular story. In the book Crow Call, we see the use of watercolors, and when you look at this book, the illustrations look so real and so lifelike. These are just a few notables for this chapter. Encyclopedia Brown, The Day Jimmy's Boa Ate the Wash, Where the Wild Things Are, So You Want to Be the President, Two Bad Ants, and Brown Bear, What Do You See? This is certainly not even close to being an exhaustive list, but it is representative of the quality and characteristics that these authors and illustrators are gifted with. Picture books help readers deepen their understanding of visual communication or visual literacy. Book design, or paratextual elements, such as those listed here, all evolve from intentional decisions. Decisions about the book size, the paper type, the end papers, the front, the book jacket, all of these contribute to the visual impact of the finished book. Picture books are typically 32 pages long. One page is taken by the title page, a second by the copyright information, and often another by the dedication, leaving illustrators of most picture books with a little less than 30 pages to work with. Within these pages, an illustrator creates a visual world. When we learn about historical fiction, we will be reading an article from the reading teacher, which provides additional information on these paratextual elements and how they impact the reader and convey the book's message. But for now, just be familiar with these design elements and become aware of them as you continue your book critiques. Having examined the many different ways illustrations aid the reader in understanding and feeling the story, it's no surprise that these artists are recognized for their outstanding contribution. The Caldecott Medal is awarded to the illustrator who demonstrates these characteristics in a picture book published in the United States. And here are a few examples of some Caldecott Award winners, including This Is Not My Hat. What's generally considered the first picture book is Orbis Pictus, or The Visible World in Pictures. This book was written in 1657 by Janus Comenius. He was a visionary educator from what's now Slovakia, and he believed that in addition to the quote-unquote dead languages, history, and catechisms that were popular in the day, children also needed to be taught practical matters in the language that they use daily. And so he added illustrations to the informational text to increase understanding and to make it more pleasurable. Children's book publishing advanced drastically, especially under the leadership of John Newbery in the 18th century. Later, an English illustrator, Beatrix Potter, recognized the need to consider the audience when creating children's books. She insisted that her books be appropriately sized for little hands. Her stories of woodland animals are endearing, not only for the well-written text, but also for the meticulous illustrations. Wanda Gagg's 1928 book, Millions of Cats, still delights readers with the repeated phrases, hundreds of cats, thousands of cats, millions and billions and trillions of cats. The lonely man who set out to find a cat, to keep him and his wife company, simply cannot choose from among the millions of cats. The lines of the hills and the roads in the black and white illustrations show the long distance the man travels in search of a cat and echo the long line of cats that follow him home. Picture books are also characterized by a unique use of language. These 13 types of picture books is what we will use when we indicate the genre of any picture books that we critique. Wordless books are marked by the absence of written language. However, language is implied through the illustrations, so it exists within the book, but not as visible text. Concept books have language that's unique in its ability to convey meaning of concepts such as shapes, colors, objects. The best picture storybooks have language that's rich in its ability to tell a story and may include vocabulary that's beyond the child's independent reading level, but have context that aids the reading comprehension. Again, remember these are the 13 types of picture books that we'll be using when you're critiquing the books that you read. Rather than just saying it's a picture book, I'd like for you to go ahead and say what type of picture book. Is it a graphic novel? Is it a pattern book? Is it a counting book? Etc. These are a few suggestions to help you in selecting excellent picture books to use in your classroom. The textbook has many resources and lists of high-quality literature, but it's important for you to know what to look for in a picture book. Hopefully, this chapter has helped you discover the many intentional decisions that authors and illustrators make that affect your experience with picture books. For instance, when you're selecting excellent picture books, you're looking for original ideas. You're looking for books that avoid stereotypes, that are rich in language and have a variety of writing style. The illustrations are appropriate, but remember that color's not essential. Oftentimes there's multiple layers of meaning and humor in excellent picture books. This is an example from Two Bad Ants by Chris Van Allsburg. Excellent, excellent book. If you have not read this, I highly recommend it. It can be one in your list of 30 books. And you can see from this illustration here that the perspective is from the ants' view, or actually behind the ants, and what they see as they're in a cup of coffee and being ready to go down the man's mouth. As you continue with your book critiques, be sure to indicate the type of picture book that your text qualifies as. And remember that many of the books you may select could be considered in multiple genres. For instance, the book Crow Call, which was highlighted earlier, could also be considered historical fiction, since it does describe a real relationship that existed over 20 years ago. These are questions I'd like for you to consider. Use your understanding of the chapter, our discussion so far, and your knowledge of learner development. As you come up with ideas of how you would answer these questions, please be sure that you have evidence from the text that would provide support for your answers. For instance, how can picture books for older readers enhance the curriculum in middle and secondary grades? Oftentimes we don't see picture books being read aloud to that age student. However, can you think of reasons why we could use picture books? Or what would you consider to be the 3 most important aspects of book design? Remember, book design, lots and lots of different decisions that have to be made by the author, the illustrator, even the publishing company. So think about what would you consider as the three most important aspects and why. Okay? If you have any questions about this chapter, please don't hesitate to ask. You can email me, you can call, and I'm happy to help you in that respect. I hope you've enjoyed the world of picture books. They're amazing, they're fun, and there's a lot that we can learn from the illustrations. God bless you. Have a great day.